Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. On September 14th of this year, I put out a video about changes to the Delta Medallion program, and I specifically mentioned how the changes were very drastic. The spending thresholds were super high, and because of that, I would not be able to maintain my diamond status for next year. Well, shortly after I put out that video, there was a lot of feedback from the Delta Medallion community about the fact that the new spending levels were so high that it's going to be difficult to maintain status on Delta, or at least high-level status. Therefore, we are not going to either fly Delta anymore, or we are not going to fly as much. I did not specifically make any complaints to Delta. I just put out a video about it saying that, well, I'm not going to be a diamond anymore. But because of all the feedback that Delta received from the community, they did make a lot of changes to what they initially announced. Now, when they put out that change announcement, I did not make a video about it because I wasn't sure if Delta was going to make any future changes, and I didn't want to keep making videos about something if it was going to change. But we are at the end of 2023, and those changes are here to stay. Delta did pull back on the spending thresholds for what it takes to maintain status on Delta. However, the thresholds are still so high that I'm not going to be a Delta Diamond for next year. Now, before I talk about the changes that Delta made subsequent to my initial video, I want to talk a little bit about my initial video that I made back in September about the changes that Delta made to achieve diamond or any level of status on the airline for next year. What they did was they raised the threshold of spending. And in order to get to diamond status for the year 2024, you need to spend $20,000 a year. Previously, it was $15,000 a year. And as I indicated in my previous video, I don't ever spend $15,000 a year on flights. I actually spend maybe about $2,000 or $3,000 less than that. Then at the end of the year, I do mileage runs, or I purchase a more expensive fare class to actually get to the $15,000. So the $20,000 spending threshold was completely out of the question for me. There was no way I was going to spend that much extra money to maintain diamond status. So with the credit card waiver, I was able to get platinum status for 2024. Now, the minimum spend for platinum status for 2024 is $12,000. And because I have the credit card waiver to get me to platinum status, I'm actually not incentivized to even spend the $12,000. I spent less than $12,000 because of the credit card waiver. So it's a little bit strange that Delta does not want me to spend more money, and I still made platinum status for 2024. However, things are completely different for the following year. For 2025, which is earned during the 2024 calendar year, Delta announced that they're making the SkyMiles program simpler. Yes, it is indeed simpler. They're getting rid of medallion qualification segments and medallion qualification miles. The only thing that counts is how much money you spend on Delta. And it doesn't necessarily have to be on Delta. It could be via a credit card or Delta Vacations, but most of my spending in life in general is on Delta Airlines, so this severely affects me. They increased, however, the spending levels to really high level. Now, on September 13th, Delta came out with the new spending levels to get to medallion levels of status, and there were no other requirements except spend this amount of money. Silver medallion minimum spending was increased to $6,000. Gold medallion spending was increased to $12,000. Platinum medallion spending was increased to $18,000. And diamond medallion spending was increased to a whopping $35,000. For the current year, the only spend requirement for Delta Diamond Medallion status is $15,000. They went up to $38,000. This did not go very well with the Delta community, and Delta subsequently came back and lowered the spending thresholds. The new numbers that Delta came out with based upon feedback from the community are as follows. Spend $5,000 and you'll get silver medallion status. Spend $10,000 and you'll get gold medallion status. Spend $15,000 and you'll get platinum medallion status. Now, $15,000 is what the minimum spend was in the past to get to diamond medallion status. That's now platinum medallion status. And to get to diamond medallion status, the number is now $28,000. $28,000 is down significantly from $35,000. However, as I mentioned, based upon my lifestyle and the flying that I do, I generally spend a little bit less than $15,000. $15,000 will only get me to platinum status. And the question is, If I strive for platinum medallion, is it worth it? Because as a diamond, which I am currently right now till the end of this year, I am at the very, very top of the upgrade list. I'm always number one, and quite often I get my complimentary medallion upgrades days before my actual flight. So if I'm getting them as a diamond, will I get them as a platinum? So it's definitely great that the numbers are lowered. It does make it more accessible for other people to get to diamond status or different levels of status. But the thing is that I'm still not encouraged to spend more money because platinum status may not even be worth it, and the threshold is still so high for it. So why would I spend $15,000 for a level of service that I used to get for diamond medallion anymore? Something to think about. Now, yes, what Delta did announce subsequent to their initial announcement is great because it did lower the numbers, but there's even other things that Delta did that are also pretty good too. I'm going to read this word for word exactly as Delta announced this. Beginning in early 2024, we will offer a one-time conversion of your rollover MQMs or a medallion status extension for members with a significant rollover MQM balance. You can choose to convert them to MQDs, miles, or a combination of both. Members with MQM rollover balances over $100,000 can also choose to extend their 2024 medallion status for 1 year per every 100,000 rollover MQMs. Now, I'm going to read that last line again. Members with MQM rollover balances over $100,000 can also choose to extend their 2024 medallion status for 1 year per every 100,000 rollover MQMs. So if I'm reading that correctly, if I become a platinum for 2024, which I will, any additional MQMs that I have, which will be going away, I can choose to roll over for every 100,000 miles to extend that status. So I have just over 300,000 MQMs in my SkyMiles account. Based upon what I'm reading, it sounds like that I can extend my platinum medallion status for 3 more years after that. So it sounds like that means that I'll be a platinum and I don't need to do anything to achieve the platinum status because it's simply being extended year after year after year. So what I don't understand is that if that is indeed the case, Delta is encouraging me to spend $0 on their flights for the next several years, and I'll still have high-level status. I'm not sure I quite understand the logic behind that because it's really discouraging me from spending money on Delta. If Delta maintained their old system of requiring a minimum spend of $15,000 per year to achieve diamond status, chances are very, very high that I would put more money into Delta Airlines, more money than I actually want to spend just to get to diamond status. But now it's kind of being handed over to me for the next couple of years. So essentially, I don't have to fly Delta Airlines at all for the next couple of years, and I will have platinum status. Will I fly Delta Airlines? Yes, of course I will. Will I be spending a lot less money on Delta Airlines? Yes, that also is the case. Why will I continue to fly Delta Airlines? Well, I still will be a platinum medallion, so I will get things like a free check bag. I'll still have priority access to the check-in areas as well as boarding, and I will have additional benefits. I will not have as many benefits as I had like a diamond medallion. For example, I will lose my complimentary access to the Delta Sky Club, which I use as a choice benefit. I'm not 100% sure if it was worth it or not, but I definitely am losing it. But I still will be a platinum medallion, so I still will have a lot of benefits when I go to the airport and board a Delta flight. I'm just not encouraged to spend more money anymore. In the past, I've even purchased on my own first-class tickets just to get to the next level of status, to get to the $15,000 to become a diamond medallion. Well, I don't need to do that anymore because there's no reason for me to do so. And it gets even more interesting. I am very close to becoming a million miler on Delta Airlines. Once you become a million miler, you get a certain level of status for life. Prior to all these changes and announcements with Delta, the benefit of becoming a million miler means that you'll get silver medallion status for life. Well, once the changes came about, a lot of the Delta community members said that's not enough. We would like the change to that. And Delta subsequently came out with the fact that, well, if you become a million miler, you will now become gold medallion for life. So as I said, I'm very close to becoming a million miler. I only have 80,000 more miles that I need to fly on Delta to get to million miler status. So if I want to become a medallion member or keep my medallion membership in some level for the rest of my life, all I need to do over the next couple of years while my platinum medallion status is extended is simply fly an additional 80,000 miles. And once my Platinum Medallion status is completely done with because of the extensions, I'll then have hit Million Miler status, and then I'll be a Gold Medallion for life. So this really encourages me to spend even less money with Delta, because 80,000 miles over the course of several years is not a lot of flying for me, and it's very, very achievable. So Delta has really disincentivized me from spending a lot of money with them, except to fly this 80,000 miles. And once I become Gold for life, then I really don't have to put any money into Delta at all, knowing that I have this Gold level status. And the fact is that Diamond will still just be unachievable because the thresholds are so high, and even Platinum is so much money to spend. So why spend that money when I have Gold status on Delta Airlines? It doesn't make much sense from a business point of view, for me specifically from Delta Airlines, because they're losing money off of me. Maintaining Gold status for life is the equivalent of spending $10,000 a year on Delta Airlines. In the past, I've spent somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 on Delta, but why would I want to spend more money when I'm given this for free? I could spend a little bit more each year in the future once my Platinum status expires to get to Platinum status, but the fact that so many thousands of dollars are coming to me basically for free with this extended Gold status for life, I'm not going to be encouraged to spend more money. And Diamond status is really out of the question. $28,000 is a lot of money, and that's several years down the road. Who knows if Delta will actually increase the spending thresholds for all the levels of medallion status by the time we get to that? Only time will tell. Now, this video is an extremely personal video focusing specifically on my scenario. Everyone's got a different story. A lot of people are not concerned about the changes at all because they actually do spend over $28,000 a year on flights. A lot of flights are paid for by businesses. All of my flights are paid for with my own money, or at least most of my flights are. So that is a big, big contributing factor to the fact that I don't want to spend more money. I can actually pick and choose how many flights I want to fly per year because I'm flying primarily for personal reasons. Almost all of my flights in 2023 were on Delta Airlines. If you go back into my videos, there were only 2 other airlines for a total of 4 flights that I flew on that were non-Delta or non-SkyTeam flights. At one point earlier this year, I did take a trip on JetBlue, and at another point later in this year, I did take a trip on Ryanair. Everything else was on Delta or Air France, so I could spend the money, fly the MQMs, fly the segments, so I can get to Platinum Medallion status. And of course, as I mentioned before, even for 2024 with a $20,000 minimum spent on Delta Diamond Medallion was just out of the question. So I'm really discouraged by Delta to spend more money. I don't get it. But again, they're looking at it from the bigger picture. I think obviously Delta does have a business plan, realizing that they can profit more perhaps from this. It's just not going to be from someone like me who travels primarily for personal reasons. So what does this mean for the future for me for the year 2024? Will I fly on Delta Airlines? Yes, I will. However, I don't think I'll be flying as often on Delta Airlines, and I will not be spending that much money. To be honest with you, I have some flights booked already for next year, and I used my SkyMiles to pay for those flights because I already have Platinum status. It sounds like my Platinum status will be able to get extended for about 3 more years. So why should I actually spend more money on Delta Airlines when they are actually giving this to me for free? If I were Delta Airlines, I would kind of look at that as a strange thing, because here's an opportunity for someone who has the money to spend on Delta Airlines, and I'm not giving the airline money. Now, eventually, I will run out of SkyMiles to pay for my Delta flights, so I will have to pay for the flights, but I won't be flying Delta as often. I may be taking more nonstop flights as opposed to connecting flights. In the past, I did take a lot of connecting flights just to get more miles out there or to spend more money. It may not actually happen during the year 2024, and I may try a few other airlines. However, the focus is probably always going to be on Delta. I think it's always going to go back to Delta because of the free checked bag, because of the Sky Priority access that I'm going to be able to get with my Platinum Medallion status. So in life in general, I'm a very loyal person. And as you can see from all my videos, they're almost entirely on Delta. I've been very, very loyal to Delta. I still will be, but I just won't be as loyal as I was in the past, simply because the highest level of reward that I have enjoyed for so many years is no longer achievable. Now, let's talk about this a little bit differently from the point of view of this specific channel. As you know, as viewers of my channel, I rarely focus on service or luxury items within the cabin of a flight for multiple reasons. One obvious reason is that I'm often flying on the same exact routes, on the same exact aircraft types, and there's not too much to report on. However, even if I were to fly on different routes, my focus is still going to be on enjoying the flight from a different perspective than the average passenger. It is going to be from the point of view of the window seat. So as you know, I always make sure that I have a window seat when I fly. A middle seat, an aisle seat is an absolute no-no when getting on an airplane. And I am also trying to encourage flyers to understand flying from a different point of view to make the flight even more enjoyable by using the window to have a situational awareness of what's going on around you and understanding why you're turning, why you're climbing, and what is that in your view right now. I think that is the greatest way to fly, because with all the changes with Delta's loyalty program and even with other airlines' changes in their loyalty programs, I really want to convey the fact that there is a lot of equality out there when it comes to airlines these days. And I personally believe now that everything is equal. And that is how air traffic control treats your flight. In a lot of my videos, I talk about air traffic control, how aircraft are separated. Air traffic controllers take great steps to make sure that everybody is treated the same. Everyone is separated from each other at the same distance as required by law so that aircraft can safely operate in the national airspace system. So if I'm taking a flight out of LaGuardia Airport, and let's say I'm flying on Spirit Airlines, or if I'm flying on Delta Airlines, or if I'm flying on JetBlue Airlines, from the air traffic point of view, from the aviation point of view, everything is equal. And that's one thing that I want to convey really on this channel, is that you should enjoy your flight for the joy of flying itself. Far too often, I get in an airplane and the first thing people do is they lower the window shades and they just look at the TV screen or they watch a movie. From my point of view, my video is about enjoying the flight and really understanding to make the flight a fantastic experience. And a lot of people have even told me that they watch my videos to feel more calm, to understand how safe flying actually is. And it's true, flying is the safest way to travel. I fly because I have to fly. I fly for personal reasons primarily, and every single time I get on an airplane, I'm super excited about the flight itself, the aviation aspect of it. Where are we going to fly? Where are we going to turn? What relationship do we have to other aircraft in the sky? And for me, that's what flying is all about. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. It's very different than my other videos because 99% of the videos that I'm in, I'm actually flying on an airplane, explaining in great detail what's going on from the point of view of the window seat passenger. And I wanted to mention this because, as you know, even if I don't talk about it at all during my flights, I'm always on Delta Airlines. So I want to explain my personal situation on how all the changes to the SkyMiles program affects me personally. Everybody has their own unique story. Like I said, there are people whose companies are paying for people's flights, so they may be spending $50,000 a year on Delta. They'll be diming year after year after year because they fly so much, and the money's not coming out of their own pocket. For me, it's a completely different situation. There are other people like me out there, of course, who do fly for personal reasons. I've met other diamonds out there. I know personally other diamonds out there who fly so much, but they are doing it for personal reasons that they are able to get to diamond medallion status. But at this point, they're now discouraged from trying to spend extra to get to diamond, or they're able to roll over their MQM since they're going away. Or if they're at the million miler status, they simply are guaranteed that they'll at least get gold medallion. And if you're at higher levels of million miler status, like a 2 million miler or a 3 million miler or even higher, you'll be given even higher levels of medallion status further discouraging you from spending more money on Delta. But in the end, yes, I will spend money on Delta Airlines because I do have some benefits that are available to me. And flying out of LaGuardia Airport, Delta Airlines gives me a lot of options. So you will see more videos with Delta Airlines, but perhaps I may be on other airlines too. Remember, flying is all about enjoying the experience. It's about the window seat for me, and I really want to convey that message to my audience so that you make your next flight fantastic. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you on an airplane very soon.